Vega mansion had been Rosa Delgado's entire world for 4 years. She moved through its grand hallways each day with quiet efficiency, tending to every detail that made the household run smoothly, from managing the kitchen staff to ensuring Antonio Vega's private study remained exactly as he preferred it, undisturbed and perfectly organized. Rosa was a chubby, warm-hearted woman in her late 20s, known throughout the household for her gentle patience, her genuine kindness toward every member of the staff, and her unwavering dedication to her work. She had come to work for Antonio initially out of simple financial necessity, needing steady employment after her family fell into difficult circumstances. Over the years, however, her quiet dedication had grown into something far deeper and more complicated than simple professional loyalty. Antonio Vega was one of the city's most powerful and respected mafia bosses, commanding fear and respect in equal measure throughout the underground world he controlled. Yet within the walls of his own mansion, Rosa had witnessed a different side of him entirely. Moments of quiet exhaustion after difficult business dealings, genuine warmth toward the household staff who served him loyally, and occasional flashes of vulnerability he rarely allowed anyone else to witness. Over 4 years of quiet, consistent presence in his daily life, Rosa had fallen deeply and hopelessly in love with Antonio, though she had never once spoken of her feelings, understanding clearly the impossible distance between a humble housekeeper and a powerful, dangerous mafia boss. She contented herself instead with small, quiet moments, preparing his favorite meal after an especially difficult day, ensuring fresh flowers brightened his study each morning, remembering small details about his preferences that no one else in the household seemed to notice or care about. Antonio, for his part, had grown genuinely comfortable with Rosa's constant, reliable presence, though he rarely considered the depth of her quiet devotion beyond simple professional gratitude. She had become such a consistent, steady part of his daily routine that he often took her presence entirely for granted, never once imagining the genuine feelings she carried quietly within her heart. One morning, the household staff gathered nervously in the mansion's grand dining hall, summoned unexpectedly by Antonio himself. Rosa stood quietly among the staff, curiosity and mild unease evident in her gentle expression, uncertain exactly what prompted such an unusual, formal gathering. Antonio entered the room, his expression composed yet carrying an unusual seriousness. Beside him walked an elegant, strikingly beautiful woman, dressed impeccably in expensive designer clothing, her confident posture and calculating eyes immediately setting her apart from the humble household staff surrounding her. "I've gathered you all together," Antonio announced formally, "because I have important news to share. This is Camila Torres." He paused briefly, glancing toward the elegant woman beside him. "We are engaged to be married." A ripple of surprised murmurs spread quickly through the gathered staff, congratulations and polite smiles following immediately, though genuine curiosity and quiet speculation lingered clearly beneath the surface. Rosa felt her heart drop sharply, an overwhelming wave of quiet devastation washing through her chest, despite her best efforts to maintain her calm, professional composure. She had always understood, logically, that Antonio would eventually marry someone suitable, someone from his own world of wealth, power, and status. Yet hearing the announcement so suddenly, so definitively, shattered something deep within her she hadn't fully realized she had been quietly protecting all these years. "Camila's family holds significant influence within our business circles," Antonio continued, his tone measured and professional despite the personal nature of his announcement. "This marriage will strengthen important alliances, ensuring continued stability and security for everyone within this household." Rosa listened quietly, her expression carefully neutral despite the quiet agony building steadily within her chest. She had spent 4 years quietly nurturing feelings she never intended to reveal, understanding clearly the impossible nature of her hopeless affection. Yet now, faced directly with the undeniable reality of Antonio's engagement, she realized painfully that continuing to serve him quietly, watching him build a life and family with someone else entirely, had suddenly become an impossible burden to bear. As the staff dispersed following Antonio's announcement, Rosa moved quietly toward the kitchen, her hands trembling slightly as she attempted to focus on her usual daily tasks. She overheard briefly, through the kitchen's open doorway, Camila's confident voice speaking privately with Antonio nearby. "The household staff seem adequate," Camila commented smoothly, though a subtle edge of calculated condescension colored her tone. "Though I'll certainly want to make some changes once we're married. Ensure everything runs according to my own preferences." Antonio's reply was measured, professional, though Rosa couldn't quite make out his exact words through her own quietly building distress. She stood frozen momentarily near the kitchen doorway, overwhelmed suddenly by the harsh reality of her situation. For years of quiet, unspoken devotion, now facing the painful certainty of watching Antonio build a future entirely separate from the quiet, genuine connection she had always secretly cherished. In that painful, clarifying moment, Rosa made a quiet, resolute decision. She could no longer continue serving faithfully within these walls, witnessing daily the life Antonio was about to build with someone else, someone whose calculating ambition felt distinctly different from the genuine warmth and loyalty Rosa had always quietly offered him. Composing herself carefully, Rosa returned silently to her daily tasks, her heart heavy, yet her resolve steadily strengthening. She understood clearly now, with painful clarity, that after 4 years of quiet devotion, it was finally time for her to walk away. In the days following Antonio's engagement announcement, the mansion transformed rapidly into a whirlwind of wedding preparations. Designers arrived to discuss elaborate gowns. Event planners filled the grand hallways with fabric samples and floral arrangements, and Camila herself visited frequently, her confident presence quickly reshaping the household's usual quiet routine. Rosa continued her daily duties with practiced, careful composure, though the constant reminders of Antonio's upcoming marriage weighed increasingly heavy upon her already fragile heart. She watched quietly as Camila walked confidently through rooms Rosa had carefully maintained for years, offering critical comments about decor and staff efficiency, without any genuine appreciation for the dedication behind such careful, consistent care. "The kitchen staff seems disorganized," Camila commented dismissively one afternoon, unaware or indifferent to Rosa's presence nearby. "I'll need to bring in my own people once we're married. Ensure everything meets proper standards." Rosa remained silent, her expression carefully neutral, despite the quiet sting of Camila's careless dismissal. She had worked tirelessly for years to ensure the household ran smoothly, yet Camila's casual criticism made clear exactly how little her dedication would matter once she officially became mistress of the house. Antonio, meanwhile, remained largely distracted by the demands of merging his business interests with Camila's powerful family connections, along with the general chaos of wedding preparations. He barely noticed Rosa's growing quietness, her subtle withdrawal from the easy, comfortable rapport they had developed naturally over years of shared daily routine. One evening, exhausted from another long day of wedding arrangements and business negotiations, Antonio retreated briefly to his private study, expecting the usual quiet comfort Rosa always provided through small, thoughtful gestures. He found his desk organized as usual, fresh coffee waiting exactly as he preferred it. Yet something about Rosa's demeanor, as she quietly delivered his evening meal, felt distinctly different, more distant than her usual warm, familiar presence. "Rosa," he said, glancing up from his paperwork, genuine curiosity evident in his tired eyes. "Is everything all right? You seem unusually quiet lately." Rosa forced a polite, composed smile, carefully masking the emotional turmoil simmering beneath her calm exterior. "Everything's fine, Mr. Vega. Just busy with the preparations, like everyone else." Antonio studied her carefully, sensing something subtly amiss beneath her carefully controlled composure, though he quickly dismissed his concern, distracted once again by pressing business matters demanding his immediate attention. "Of course. Thank you, Rosa, as always." Rosa nodded quietly, retreating swiftly from his study before her carefully maintained composure could crack entirely. She hurried toward her own small quarters, finally allowing quiet tears to fall freely once alone, the weight of her hopeless situation becoming increasingly unbearable with each passing day. That night, unable to sleep, Rosa made her final, resolute decision. She could no longer continue serving faithfully within a household soon to be governed by Camila's calculating ambition. Nor could she bear watching Antonio build a life entirely separate from the quiet, genuine devotion she had secretly nurtured for 4 long years. The following morning, Rosa approached Antonio's personal assistant, Elena, requesting a formal meeting to discuss her resignation. Elena's eyes widened with genuine shock and surprise. "Rosa, are you certain? You've been here for years, practically part of the family." "I'm certain," Rosa replied quietly, though her voice trembled slightly with barely controlled emotion. "It's simply time for me to move on, pursue other opportunities." Elena studied her carefully, clearly sensing there was more beneath Rosa's simple explanation, yet respecting her privacy enough not to press further. "I'll inform Mr. Vega immediately. He'll likely want to discuss this personally." Word of Rosa's unexpected resignation spread quickly through the household staff, genuine shock and confusion evident among her colleagues, many of whom had grown genuinely fond of her warm, gentle presence over the years. Whispered speculation began circulating quietly, staff members exchanging curious, concerned glances, uncertain exactly what had prompted such a sudden, unexpected decision from someone so consistently devoted to her work. Antonio, informed later that afternoon by Elena, initially assumed Rosa's resignation was simply a misunderstanding, perhaps related to stress from the recent wedding preparations disrupting the household's usual routine. He called her immediately to his study, genuine confusion evident in his tone. "Rosa, Elena mentioned you've submitted your resignation," he said, studying her carefully as she entered his study, her expression composed yet clearly guarded. "Surely there's some misunderstanding. You've been an essential, trusted part of this household for years." Rosa remained quiet for a long moment, carefully considering her response, unwilling yet to reveal the full truth behind her sudden decision. "There's no misunderstanding, Mr. Vega. I simply feel it's time for a change, time to move forward with other opportunities." Antonio studied her closely, genuine confusion and mild frustration evident in his controlled expression. "Rosa, for years of dedicated service, and you're simply walking away without further explanation? That doesn't sound like you." Rosa hesitated, her heart pounding anxiously beneath her carefully maintained composure. "Perhaps you don't know me as well as you assume, Mr. Vega," she said quietly, though genuine hurt flickered briefly beneath her controlled tone. Antonio's expression shifted subtly, clearly sensing something deeper and more complicated beneath Rosa's carefully guarded words, yet unable to fully grasp the true source of her sudden, unexpected departure. "Rosa, please, at least explain your reasoning clearly. You deserve better than simply disappearing without proper explanation, especially after everything you've done for this household." Rosa studied him carefully, torn between her instinct toward continued silence and years of quietly suppressed emotion finally threatening to surface. She took a deep, steadying breath, recognizing clearly that her decision to leave meant confronting, at last, truths she had carefully hidden for far too long. "Mr. Vega," she said quietly, her voice trembling slightly despite her attempt to compose control, "there's more to my decision than simple career opportunities. But I'm not certain you're ready to hear the full truth." Antonio studied her intently, genuine curiosity and concern evident in his controlled gaze, sensing clearly that Rosa's quiet resignation carried far deeper implications than either of them had initially anticipated. Antonio studied Rosa carefully, genuine confusion mixing with growing concern at her cryptic words. "Rosa, whatever it is, please, tell me directly. You've never hidden things from me before." Rosa hesitated, her heart pounding anxiously as she weighed the consequences of finally speaking truthfully after years of careful silence. Yet something in Antonio's genuine concern, the way he studied her so intently, made her realize she couldn't fully explain herself. Not yet. Not while her emotions remained so raw and overwhelming. "I need time, Mr. Vega," she said quietly, her voice steady despite the turmoil within her. "Please, respect my decision to leave. I promise to finish out my notice period properly, ensure a smooth transition for whoever replaces me." Antonio's jaw tightened slightly, clearly unsatisfied with her vague explanation, yet recognizing her obvious distress. He reluctantly nodded. "All right, Rosa. But please, know that this household, that I will genuinely miss your presence." Rosa's throat tightened with barely suppressed emotion at his sincere words. "Thank you, Mr. Vega," she managed quietly, before excusing herself quickly from his study. Over the following days, Rosa continued her duties diligently, training her replacement carefully, ensuring every detail of the household's daily routine remained perfectly organized despite her own quietly building sorrow. She avoided prolonged interactions with Antonio as much as possible, fearful that continued proximity might finally break her careful composure entirely. Antonio, meanwhile, found himself unexpectedly troubled by Rosa's impending departure, memories of her quiet, consistent presence over the years surfacing unexpectedly throughout his daily routine. He noticed, with sudden clarity, countless small gestures he had previously taken entirely for granted. The fresh flowers she always ensured brightened his study, the perfectly prepared meals reflecting his exact preferences, the quiet, steady comfort her presence had provided through years of difficult, demanding business dealings. One afternoon, wandering through the mansion's gardens, Antonio found himself unexpectedly recalling a particular evening years earlier, when Rosa had quietly comforted him after an especially brutal, dangerous confrontation with rival organizations. She had said little, simply bringing him tea and sitting quietly nearby, her calm, steady presence somehow easing the tension and danger of his violent world in ways he had never fully appreciated until now. Facing her imminent departure, as the day of Rosa's final departure approached, Antonio grew increasingly restless, disturbed by an unfamiliar sense of loss he couldn't quite articulate or fully understand. Late one evening, unable to ignore his mounting unease any longer, he sought her out directly, finding her quietly packing her few personal belongings in her small quarters. "Rosa," he said softly, standing hesitantly at her doorway. "Can we talk, please?" Rosa turned, startled by his unexpected presence, her heart racing anxiously at the sight of him standing there, genuine vulnerability evident in his usually composed expression. "Mr. Vega, Please, Rosa," Antonio interrupted gently, stepping cautiously into her room. "Call me Antonio, just this once. After 4 years, surely we've earned that much informality between us." Rosa hesitated, emotion tightening uncomfortably in her throat. "Antonio," she said quietly, testing his name aloud for what felt like the very first time. Antonio studied her carefully, genuine concern and confusion evident in his gaze. "Rosa, please, I need to understand. 4 years of dedicated, genuine service, and you're leaving without fully explaining why. What's really going on?" Rosa took a deep, steadying breath, recognizing clearly that avoiding the truth any longer would only prolong her own quiet suffering. "Antonio, do you genuinely not know why I'm leaving?" Antonio frowned, clearly troubled by her direct, pointed question. "I assumed it was simply about career growth, personal ambitions beyond housekeeping duties." Rosa studied him carefully, quiet heartbreak evident beneath her composed exterior. "It's more complicated than that, Antonio. Much more complicated." Antonio stepped closer, genuine concern deepening in his expression. "Then please, help me understand, Rosa. I don't want you to leave under circumstances I don't fully comprehend." Rosa hesitated once more, torn between the safety of continued silence and the painful vulnerability of complete honesty. Yet the weight of 4 years of quiet devotion, coupled with her impending departure, finally pushed her toward unavoidable truth. "Antonio," she said softly, her voice trembling slightly despite her attempt at composed control, "these past 4 years, working closely beside you, caring for this household, caring for you, it became something more than simple professional duty to me." Antonio's breath caught sharply, genuine surprise evident in his expression as understanding began dawning slowly. "Rosa, are you saying?" Rosa nodded slowly, tears finally slipping free despite her best efforts at composure. "I fell in love with you, Antonio. Quietly, hopelessly, over these past 4 years. I never intended to speak of it, understanding clearly the impossible distance between us. But now, watching you prepare to marry someone else entirely, I simply can't continue serving quietly, watching you build a life with Camila, while carrying these feelings silently within me any longer." Antonio stood frozen, clearly stunned by her heartfelt, unexpected admission. Years of quiet interactions and comfortable, familiar routines suddenly taking on entirely new significance and complexity. "Rosa, I had no idea," he said quietly, genuine shock evident in his voice. "I know," Rosa replied softly, wiping her tears determinedly. "I never wanted you to know. Never intended to burden you with feelings I understood were impossible to reciprocate. But now, faced with genuinely walking away, I couldn't leave without finally being honest, at least with myself." Antonio studied her carefully, torn between his responsibilities toward his impending marriage and unexpected feelings and realizations rapidly surfacing within him. "Rosa, please, give me time to process this. I need to understand my own feelings clearly before you leave." Rosa nodded quietly, though clear uncertainty and vulnerability remained evident in her gentle expression. "Take whatever time you need, Antonio. But please understand, my decision to leave remains unchanged, regardless of what you ultimately decide." As Antonio left her quarters, his mind swirling with unexpected revelations and complicated emotions, Rosa remained quietly alone, uncertain exactly how Antonio's newfound awareness of her genuine feelings might change the delicate balance of loyalty, duty, and unexpected love now surrounding them both. Antonio spent the following days in unusual distraction, his mind repeatedly drifting toward Rosa's heartfelt confession despite the mounting pressures of his upcoming wedding and business obligations. He found himself reconsidering countless memories from the past 4 years, viewing them now through an entirely different, more meaningful lens. Meanwhile, Camila continued her confident preparations for their approaching wedding, seemingly unaware of the quiet turmoil unfolding within Antonio's usually composed and controlled demeanor. Her interactions with him remained polished and calculated, focused primarily on business alliances and public appearances, rather than genuine emotional connection. One afternoon, while reviewing wedding details with Camila in his private study, Antonio found his attention repeatedly drifting, his mind returning persistently to Rosa's quiet, genuine warmth, so starkly different from Camila's calculated ambition. "Antonio, are you even listening?" Camila asked sharply, clear irritation evident in her tone as she noticed his obvious distraction. "My apologies," Antonio replied, forcing his attention back toward her, though his thoughts remained troubled and distant. "Please continue." Camila studied him carefully, suspicion briefly flickering behind her calculating eyes before she resumed discussing wedding arrangements with practiced, confident ease. Yet Antonio's mind remained elsewhere, increasingly troubled by unresolved feelings and unexpected realizations regarding Rosa's genuine, quiet devotion. That evening, Antonio's trusted associate, Rico, approached him privately, his expression uncharacteristically serious. "Antonio, we need to discuss something important regarding Camila's family." "What is it?" Antonio asked, immediately alert to Rico's evident concern. "We've received troubling intelligence," Rico explained cautiously. "It appears Camila's engagement to you might not be purely about strengthening business alliances, as originally presented." Antonio's expression hardened instantly, curiosity and concern mingling clearly. "Explain." "Our sources suggest Camila's family has secretly been negotiating with a rival organization, the Fontana family, your longtime competitors," Rico revealed grimly. "It's possible this marriage is intended specifically to weaken your organization from within, gathering sensitive information and influence through Camila's position as your wife." Antonio's jaw clenched tightly, anger and betrayal evident beneath his controlled exterior. "Are you certain of this intelligence, Rico?" "Not entirely confirmed yet," Rico admitted honestly, "but the evidence is troubling enough to warrant serious concern and further investigation." Antonio absorbed this unsettling revelation carefully, his mind racing rapidly through recent interactions with Camila, reconsidering her calculated, confident demeanor in an entirely new, more troubling light. "Continue investigating immediately," he instructed firmly. "I need concrete evidence before confronting her directly." Meanwhile, Rosa continued preparing quietly for her departure, unaware of the troubling revelations beginning to surface regarding Camila's true intentions. She focused diligently on training her replacement, determined to leave the household in capable, organized condition despite her own heavy heart. One evening, as Rosa prepared final details for her departure, Antonio found her again in the mansion's quiet garden, his expression troubled and thoughtful. "Rosa," he said softly, approaching carefully, "I've been thinking deeply about everything you shared with me." Rosa turned, surprised by his sudden appearance, her heart aching gently at his evident inner turmoil. "Antonio, I meant what I said. My decision to leave remains firm, regardless of your feelings." "I understand," Antonio replied quietly, though clear hesitation colored his tone. "But Rosa, learning about your genuine feelings has made me realize something important. I've spent years surrounded by calculated ambition, political alliances, and dangerous rivalries. Yet your quiet, genuine loyalty, your unspoken love, stands out clearly now against everything else surrounding me." Rosa studied him carefully, cautious hope flickering gently beneath her guarded composure. "Antonio, what exactly are you saying?" Antonio hesitated, clearly torn between duty and unexpected realization. "I'm saying, Rosa, that I've begun questioning whether my engagement to Camila is genuinely the right decision, both personally and professionally." Rosa's breath caught softly, uncertain hope mingling with lingering caution. "Antonio, please, don't confuse guilt or gratitude toward my loyalty with something more. I don't want pity or obligation." "This isn't pity, Rosa," Antonio said firmly, stepping closer, genuine sincerity evident in his gaze. "It's clarity, recognizing finally what genuine loyalty, genuine care, truly looks like, especially in contrast to circumstances I'm only now beginning to understand more clearly." Before Rosa could respond further, Rico approached urgently, his expression grave. "Antonio, we've received confirmed evidence. Camila's family has definitely been in secret negotiations with the Fontana family. This marriage was never truly about business alliances alone. It's part of a calculated plan to undermine your organization from within." Antonio's expression darkened instantly, anger and betrayal evident clearly now. "Confirmed evidence, Rico." "Completely confirmed," Rico replied seriously. "Documents, recorded conversations, undeniable proof of Camila's family's true intentions." Rosa watched Antonio's expression harden with barely controlled fury, understanding immediately the seriousness of this unexpected betrayal. "Antonio, what will you do now?" Antonio turned back toward her, his expression a complicated mixture of anger, betrayal, and clear, unexpected realization. "I intend to confront Camila directly, expose her family's true intentions completely." "But Rosa," he said, his voice softening slightly despite the surrounding tension, "know this. Regardless of how tonight's confrontation unfolds, your feelings, your genuine loyalty and love, have shown me clearly what I've been missing, what I genuinely want moving forward." Rosa's heart raced with cautious hope and lingering uncertainty, watching Antonio's expression harden with renewed determination as he turned to address the treacherous betrayal awaiting confrontation, unaware exactly how dangerously this confrontation with Camila and her family's hidden, dangerous agenda would soon unfold. Antonio moved quickly through the mansion, Rico at his side, both men's expressions set with grim determination. They found Camila in the mansion's formal sitting room, reviewing wedding invitations with practiced elegance, entirely unaware that her carefully constructed deception was about to unravel completely. "Camila," Antonio said firmly, his tone carrying an edge she had never heard from him before. "We need to talk. Now." Camila glanced up, mild surprise flickering across her composed features at his unusually serious tone. "Antonio, is something wrong?" "I think you know exactly what's wrong," Antonio replied coldly, placing a folder of documents firmly on the table before her. "Your family's secret negotiations with the Fontana family. Care to explain?" Camila's confident expression faltered slightly, though she quickly composed herself, attempting calculated denial. "I don't know what you're talking about, Antonio." "Don't insult my intelligence," Antonio said sharply, his patience clearly wearing thin. "We have confirmed evidence, Camila. Documents, recorded conversations. Your family arranged this marriage specifically to weaken my organization from within, using your position as my wife to gather sensitive information for the Fontana family. Camila's composed mask finally cracked, cold calculation replacing her earlier feigned innocence. "Fine," she said, her tone shifting sharply, genuine venom evident beneath her previously polished exterior. "You're right. This marriage was never about genuine feelings, Antonio. It was strategic, arranged specifically to benefit my family's growing alliance with the Fontanas." Antonio's jaw tightened with barely controlled fury. "You were willing to betray me completely, endanger everything I've built, for your family's ambition?" "Don't act so surprised," Camila replied coldly. "Our world runs on strategic alliances and calculated advantage, Antonio. I assumed you understood that better than anyone." "There's a difference between strategic alliance and outright betrayal," Antonio said firmly, anger evident beneath his controlled exterior. "This engagement is over, effective immediately." Camila's expression hardened further, though clear panic flickered briefly beneath her calculated composure. "You're making a serious mistake, Antonio. My family won't simply accept this rejection quietly." "Then they can deal with the consequences directly," Antonio replied coldly. "Rico, ensure Camila is escorted from the premises immediately. Increase security measures. We need to be prepared for potential retaliation from her family." As Rico moved swiftly to escort Camila from the mansion, she turned back toward Antonio, her expression coldly calculating despite her clear anger. "This isn't over, Antonio. You'll regret rejecting my family's alliance." Antonio remained resolute, watching coldly as Camila was escorted away, her earlier confident elegance replaced entirely by bitter, calculated anger. Once she departed, Antonio turned quickly to Rico, his expression grave. "Increase security throughout the mansion immediately," Antonio instructed firmly. "If Camila's family decides to retaliate, I want everyone here fully protected, especially the household staff." Meanwhile, Rosa, having witnessed the tense confrontation from a discreet distance, felt her heart racing anxiously, uncertain exactly what dangerous consequences might follow Antonio's decisive rejection of Camila's manipulative family. That evening, as security measures intensified throughout the mansion, Antonio sought out Rosa again, finding her quietly organizing final details for a planned departure, despite the sudden, dramatic turn of events. "Rosa," he said softly, entering her room carefully, "I ended things with Camila completely. Her family's true intentions have been fully exposed." Rosa studied him carefully, cautious relief mixing with genuine concern. "Antonio, I'm sorry you had to discover such a painful betrayal. But please, be careful. If her family feels humiliated, they might retaliate dangerously." "I'm aware of that risk," Antonio replied firmly, though his gaze softened as he studied Rosa closely. "But Rosa, I need you to understand something clearly. Ending things with Camila wasn't purely about her family's betrayal. It's also about realizing clearly what genuine loyalty and love truly mean, especially after everything you shared with me." Rosa's breath caught softly, cautious hope evident despite her lingering uncertainty. "Antonio, please, don't rush into anything simply because of tonight's dramatic events. Take time to process everything clearly first." "I understand your caution, Rosa," Antonio said gently. "But my feelings toward you aren't simply a reaction to tonight's betrayal. They've been growing steadily, ever since you honestly shared your feelings with me days ago." Before Rosa could respond further, sudden urgent shouts echoed from downstairs, followed immediately by the sound of a scuffle breaking out near the mansion's main entrance. Antonio's expression instantly hardened with alert readiness. "Stay here," he instructed firmly, moving quickly toward the door. "Antonio, wait." Rosa called out anxiously, fear evident in her voice. Antonio paused briefly, turning back toward her with genuine reassurance, despite the tension of the unfolding situation. "I'll be fine, Rosa. Please, stay safe here until I return." As Antonio rushed toward the commotion downstairs, Rosa remained anxiously behind, her heart pounding with fear and uncertain hope intertwined. She quickly realized, with sudden clarity, that Camila's furious family had likely already begun their dangerous, calculated retaliation, setting the stage for a tense, dangerous confrontation that would test decisively Antonio's authority, his safety, and the genuine, unexpected connection quietly blossoming between them both. Downstairs, chaos had erupted as several of Camila's family's men attempted to force their way into the mansion, furious over Antonio's public rejection and exposure of their secret alliance with the Fontana family. Antonio's security team moved quickly, engaging the intruders in a tense, controlled confrontation near the main entrance. "Stand down." Antonio's voice boomed with authority as he arrived at the scene, his presence immediately commanding attention despite the chaos surrounding him. The leader of the intruding group, a cousin of Camila's named Raphael, stepped forward, fury evident in his expression. "You humiliated our family, Vega, rejecting Camila publicly, exposing our private business dealings. This won't go unanswered. Your family attempted to betray me from within my own household," Antonio replied coldly, his voice steady despite the tension. "You're fortunate I'm simply asking you to leave rather than responding with the consequences your betrayal actually deserves." Raphael hesitated, clearly recognizing the seriousness behind Antonio's calm, controlled warning, yet his wounded pride pushed him to test the boundaries further. "This isn't finished, Vega. Our family has powerful allies now, thanks to the Fontanas. Then perhaps your family should reconsider the wisdom of continuing hostilities against me," Antonio said firmly, his men moving decisively to secure the entrance completely. "I suggest you leave immediately, before this situation escalates further than necessary." Faced with Antonio's unwavering resolve and the clear strength of his security team, Raphael reluctantly ordered his men to retreat, though his parting glare carried unmistakable, lingering threat. "This isn't over," he muttered before disappearing into the night with his men. Once the immediate threat had passed, Antonio quickly organized additional security measures throughout the mansion, ensuring the household remained fully protected against any further retaliation. Satisfied the immediate danger had subsided, he made his way back upstairs, finding Rosa anxiously waiting near her doorway. "Antonio, are you all right?" she asked immediately, relief flooding her expression the moment she saw him safely returned. "I'm fine," Antonio reassured her gently. "Camila's family attempted a confrontation, but we've handled it. For now, at least, the immediate danger has passed." Rosa studied him carefully, genuine concern still evident despite her relief. "Antonio, this danger, it's far from truly over, isn't it?" "Probably not entirely," Antonio admitted honestly. "But I have no intention of allowing threats or manipulative schemes to dictate my life any longer, especially not when I've finally recognized what genuinely matters most to me." Rosa's heart raced softly at his sincere words, cautious hope blossoming steadily despite the underlying uncertainty of continued danger. "Antonio, what exactly are you saying?" Antonio stepped closer, his usual guarded composure completely dissolved, replaced entirely by genuine warmth and vulnerability. "I'm saying, Rosa, that these past few days have shown me clearly what real loyalty, real love, truly means. Camila's calculated betrayal stands in such stark contrast to your genuine, selfless devotion these past 4 years." Rosa's breath caught softly, tears of cautious happiness beginning to form. "Antonio, are you certain? I don't want you choosing me simply out of reaction to Camila's betrayal." "This isn't a reaction, Rosa," Antonio said firmly, reaching gently for her hands. "My feelings toward you have been quietly building for longer than I ever consciously realized. Your quiet strength, your genuine kindness, your unwavering loyalty despite years of silent sacrifice, these are the qualities I've genuinely come to cherish and love." Rosa's tears finally slipped free, genuine joy and relief replacing years of quiet heartache and uncertainty. "Antonio, I've loved you silently for 4 years, never once imagining you might genuinely return those feelings." Antonio gently wiped her tears away, his own eyes reflecting genuine warmth and sincerity. "Then let me make up for lost time, Rosa. Let me show you clearly, openly, exactly how deeply I've come to care for you." Gently, Antonio leaned down, capturing her lips in a soft, tender kiss, filled entirely with genuine affection and long-awaited relief. Rosa melted into his embrace, for years of quiet longing finally finding resolution in this genuine, heartfelt moment. In the weeks that followed, Antonio worked diligently to secure his organization against any further retaliation from Camila's family, ensuring lasting peace and stability for everyone within his household. Rosa, no longer hiding her genuine feelings, remained by his side, her role within the household transforming naturally from quiet housekeeper into openly acknowledged partner and confidant. The staff, initially surprised by this unexpected turn of events, quickly grew genuinely supportive and happy for Rosa, recognizing clearly the authenticity and depth of the connection she shared with Antonio, so starkly different from Camila's calculated ambition. One quiet evening, sitting together comfortably on the mansion's peaceful terrace, watching the sunset paint the sky in warm, gentle hues, Rosa rested her head contentedly against Antonio's shoulder. "Do you ever think about how close we came to never having this?" she asked softly. "If I hadn't finally found the courage to leave, to speak the truth?" Antonio smiled warmly, pulling her closer. "Every day. Your courage, your honesty, finally opened my eyes to something I'd overlooked far too long. I'm endlessly grateful you found that courage, Rosa." Rosa smiled contentedly, genuine happiness and security finally replacing years of quiet longing and uncertainty. "I'm grateful too, Antonio. Grateful I finally chose honesty over silent devotion." Antonio gently kissed the top of her head, holding her closely as the peaceful evening settled comfortably around them. "And I intend to spend the rest of my life ensuring you never regret choosing honesty, Rosa. Every single day." From that day forward, Antonio Vega was no longer known simply as a powerful, guarded mafia boss surrounded by calculated ambition and dangerous alliances, but privately, quietly, as a man who had finally found genuine happiness, security, and love, all because a devoted, courageous woman had chosen honesty and self-worth over 4 years of silent, unspoken sacrifice.